Salute, salute, salute. Bow. What it is, what it do, was happening. It's Nocturnal Thoughts, man. Salute to everybody out there in the YouTube boxing universe. Um, Real quick topic, real quick video, and then I'm gonna get out of the way and let y'all go about y'all day. Question: should Vergil Ortiz retire? Um, I can't remember if his last fight was against Agitas Kavalauskas. Right now, that's the last fight I can remember him fighting, but he might have had one more fight after that. I think he did, I just can't remember. But I was listening to this interview, and he was saying that he was dealing with health issues even before the Agitas Kavalauskas, Mean Machine from Lithuania. But I remember he was getting ready for a fight, and I'm thinking it was a fight against Stanionis, and it had to be postponed due to health issues. He was diagnosed with, I'm going to say the name incorrectly, I'm not a doctor, rhabdomyolysis, which is a condition when your muscles break down and release your proteins into your bloodstream. It affects your health, it affects your kidneys. It's very dangerous and deadly. Now, the first time I ever heard of rhabdomyolysis, I didn't hear the actual terminology that the doctors name it. The first time I ever heard about it, I just heard of a story. So like I said, I'm not a doctor. I only talk about things from the perspective of my knowledge and my life and what I've understood. And it's two things that people, when you get older, it's two things I feel like generally, not everybody, there's always exception to the rule, but generally some things you hear when you're young, you just don't really quite understand and comprehend until you start getting older. One thing is time goes by fast. When you a kid and somebody tells you that, you don't want to, you say, I know, I get it, I understand. Yeah, that summer went by fast, or that school year went by fast. But the older you get, the more you start realizing what that really means, that time goes by fast. Another thing you always hear from the time you're a kid, but you just really can't understand and comprehend totally until you start getting older, and the older you get, the more it just make more sense, is your health is your wealth. When you hear that, when you a kid and you young, you hear your health is your wealth, you just, I know, I understand, you get it. You know, I had a cold the other day and I didn't feel good for a week, and I had the flu. To the exception, there is an exception to that rule, but generally, when you younger and somebody tell you your health is your wealth, you kind of just don't get it. You hear it, you comprehend it, you understand it, but you just can't totally grasp that concept. I digress. First time I ever heard of rhabdomyolysis, this dude that was married to my cousin, he is married to my cousin. I was going to this old school gym, Pig Iron, and he popped up in there. And he was older than me, and back in the day, I remember him being kind of a little swole dude walking around. But I mean, he wasn't jacked up, but he had a decent muscle tone on him compared to me when I was that age when I met him when I was younger, you know what I'm saying, 15, 16 or whatever. But this is when I'm like 19, 20, and he see me in the gym. He come in there with like 3 dudes, and they all pretty big size, but he had been, he had went to jail. He got out of jail, and after he got out of jail is when I met him, so he was bigger. But after a few years passed, you know what I'm saying, he got less and less and less swole, more and more kind of soft and pudgy. So he came into the gym, I was training, I was pumped up, I was chest day, and I was hitting some pig iron. We was going heavy, me and my crew, And he came in, what up, cuz? I'm like, oh, what up, cuz, man? You finna start working? He's like, I'm finna get back swole, man. I'm finna get back swole. I'm like, all right, man, bet, man. We gonna work out together, man. He's like, yeah, I gotta catch up with you, man. I gotta get in shape first. He had then fell off. So I'm doing my thing and he doing his thing with his crew. He had like 3 dudes. I didn't know none of these dudes. They was all, like I said, kind of big, but they was over there training, doing their thing. We was doing our thing. I didn't see him again in the gym. Didn't think nothing of it because I'm like, hey, that's how it goes, man. You see people in the gym, you don't see them again until New Year's. You know what I'm saying? So I end up running into him months later. And I'm like, yo, how you been? You been working out? How you doing? He was like, cuz. He's like, cuz, man, that next day from that workout, I had to go to the hospital. I had to go to the emergency room. And I'm like, what? He's like, man, I was hitting the chest with me and my dudes was hitting the chest, and I'm trying to hit my chest like I hit it back when I was in shape, when I was in doing time and whatever like that. And he's like, man, I woke up the next day and my chest was like 3 times the size as normal. And when he was telling me this, I'm thinking like, you know, he was putting 100 on 10 and kind of overemphasizing this shit and just, you know, had a regular, you know, pump, got sore, and it was like, I ain't working out no more. Because that's what a lot of people do. They work out a couple of days, they get sore in their arms or sore in their legs or sore in their back, and they be like, I ain't doing that. I ain't going climbing up that mountain. But he was like, man, my chest swole up like this. And then, pause. He said, my chest swelled up like this, and I had to go to the doctor, and you know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, cool. I guess I ain't got to worry about, you know what I'm saying, you catching up with me, because that's when I was young. That's what I was worried about. I ain't want nobody to catch up with me. I was trying to be way ahead of everybody. I wanted my bench press. I wanted everything to be way bigger, faster, stronger than everybody anyway. So I'm like, that's just one less person I got to worry about trying to catch up with me. So, didn't think nothing of that, but I didn't hear the technical term rhabdomyolysis, but that's what it was. The next time I heard about it was years and years and years ago. I was watching this YouTube fitness channel. This dude who was, you know, lifting weights was trying to switch over to doing CrossFit. This is when CrossFit was really getting big. Everybody was talking about CrossFit this and CrossFit that. And he was doing his YouTube channel way before I even thought about doing YouTube. And he was like, I'm finna start doing all this CrossFit training. And CrossFit training is totally different from bodybuilding training. So he was making videos doing them CrossFit pull-ups, those rows, and he stopped making videos for a while. He come back and make a video, and he was like, he had, this is when I first heard the word rhabdomyolysis, and I'm saying it wrong. But he was doing those damn pull-up rows, and he pushed himself to the extreme in one workout, trying to do what some people have been doing for years and years and years. He tried to do it in like one jump, one day, and did all these crazy pull-ups. End up in the hospital the next day with all kind of issues in his muscles and his back and in his neck and everything else, and he couldn't move, and it was just like agonizing pain. And he started getting real sick, and he ended up going to the hospital, and they told him it was rhabdomyolysis. And he made a video, and he showed himself he showed himself recording it. He showed himself recording himself doing the pull-ups, and he showed himself making the video, recording him when he was in the hospital and all of that. And that was years ago. So that's the first time I ever heard of it technically. And then Joe Rogan talked about it in one of his podcasts, and I don't even know, he might have been talking about Vergil Ortiz. But I said all that to say this. A sport like boxing, when you got to cut weight, you're training in that heat for Texas, you're already a big boy, and you're trying to cut down to a small weight division. Whether you've been trying to fight at a more comfortable weight division, you know what I'm saying? Where even if you was to move up a weight division. I had to say it like this, Vergil Ortiz, your health is your wealth. Passing out during training, having issues with long-term COVID conditionings, having rhabdomyolysis when your muscles breaking down and releasing the proteins and all into your kidneys and causing you fatigue and causing you to have maybe possible kidney damage. Your health is your wealth, and time goes by fast. You young, you gotta. I ain't never gonna tell you when you need to quit doing what you love to do. Some people would rather die doing something they love to do. I don't know if a doctor from this point on will be able to even pass him through a physical to allow him to fight. Now that this is really on the diagnosis and really, exposed itself, because I feel like, for one, you a gritty, hard, old school little young kid that I felt like you was going through a lot of pain and issues that you said you weren't even telling nobody. Like, yeah, I just was suffering in silence. And then even when you talk to your doctors about the stuff, you try to kind of downplay certain issues. And I understand that, because whenever I go to a doctor, I downplay any issues I got to. It's just some people like that. Some people complain about little things like, oh, my elbow been hurting for 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. I got to go to the... And some people have pain in their whole body and go to a doctor be like, how you doing? I'm cool. Yeah. I'm all right. What's your pains from 1 to 10? 3. Mug be waking up, whole body be sore. You know what I'm saying? But everybody different, right? But from what it sounds like, you keep postponing these fights, you keep having these issues. It's one thing after another thing. You young, you in your prime. I feel like mentally you might be able to think your way into finding something else that you passionate to do and something that you love to do, because your health is your wealth. You know what I'm saying? And you got to play the cards that you dealt. You already accomplished some great things and some good things in boxing, close to some great things in boxing. But it might not be in your cards to be able to accomplish all the things that you wanted to accomplish in the sport of boxing. But it's cool for you to pivot and switch into something else and be just as successful if you apply the same mentality to it. You know what I'm saying? Because tomorrow not promised. Your health is your wealth. Like I say, man, you might have something else that could prevent you from participating in the sport of boxing. People having all kind of mental breakdown issues these days. And life is just too short. So it's up to Vergil Ortiz, his team, and his family. But a message in the bottle from me, and the way I look at it, with all honesty, if you have any percentage of a chance that this could cause severe damage, or you could possibly have another spell where you pass out in another camp, or pass out during a fight, or pass out in training, or if your kidneys can be damaged. I've seen people suffer from kidney damage, not through rhabdomyolysis, but through just sheer toxic lifestyle for their kidneys. That ain't pretty. That's probably the ugliest death I ever saw, was somebody that went through kidney failure. That was the ugliest death I ever witnessed with my own 2 eyes, personally. You young, you strong, be smart. Really, really analyze the situation from a place of wisdom. Don't take it for granted, and don't just try to, when the tough gets going, the going gets tough. Don't mean you get stupid and you physically try to tough out situations that's not physically supposed to be toughed out. Sometimes when the going gets tough, the tough get going, meaning that you smart enough to understand how to operate and maneuver through adversity in different ways, even if it's in contrast to what you used to doing or what you passionate. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes the tough can get going, meaning you could be Superman, Clark Kent, you could be Christopher Reeves, and then you get paralyzed. Do you just quit life? Do you just stop? No, you keep going. You're going in a whole different direction, but you still keep going with life and being successful, and using what you got to be the best that you can possibly be. That's an extreme case, but that would be my honest to God. If I could talk to Vergil Ortiz in his camp, I would say it might be time to look at your other options and find something else that you can advance in, or something else you could conquer, and something else that you could master, and something else that you could be successful in financially, spiritually, mentally, uh, and even physically, you know what I'm saying, to the best of your ability. That's my thoughts. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. This is Nocturnal. Salute, salute, salute.